We are live. It's 11:11. It's Friday. Shabbat Shalom. It is a day to rest, to find that rest and peace in God. It's a beautiful Sabbath because God desires for us to Sabbath on his high holy days. Also, Shana Tova, Happy New Year. It is the Hebrew New Year. It started last night at sundown. Wherever you are on the planet, sundown began our new year. So this is awesome. So Shana Tova means new year in Hebrew. Happy New Year. So I'm very excited because this also brings us to the first day of this new month of Tishrei. And there's a lot of great stuff that we haven't even talked about yet because we've been talking about Rosh Hashanah and the new year and 5783 and all of those amazing things. So I wanted to come on today and just give a little bit of an overview about the month of Tishrei because we've learned we want to be in alignment. And when we are living in that alignment with God, his rhythms, it's amazing that we begin to understand that when we are doing that, we're in blessing, which doesn't mean to say that nothing's ever going to not go our way or we're not going to face trials and all of those things. But it's an alignment. It's an alignment that happens. When we're out of that alignment, we're not able to kind of experience those blessings because we're in the wrong time. It's like planting in the wrong season. You're not going to get a harvest, right? So we are entering into harvest, into fall. So we're going to talk about that. So let's look at that. So Tishrei is the 30 days and it begins in September and ends in October. The appointed times this month are the Feast of Trumpets, Atonement, and Tabernacles, which is Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. And so Yom Kippur is, I forget how many days, I think it's 10 from this day. So we'll talk about all of that next week. But Yom Kippur and then Sukkot. So the alphabet, so Lamed, Lamed, signifies that's the letter that is associated with this month, and it signifies the aspiration to return to your absolute source, which we know is Yeshua, is our absolute source. And it's kind of cool to think about. I mentioned this in the last one, but we are entering into the month of 5783, and the number 83. If you look at the 83rd constellation, there's 88 of them. The 83rd is the Big Dipper, also known as Ursa Major. And sometimes they'll talk about it being the bear, the big bear. But it points to the North Star. And so everything in all creation, including in the heavens above, points to Yeshua. So it's really cool to think about that, just that connection of the 83rd year and the 83rd constellation. So very cool. So some of the characteristics are it is the 7th month in the Hebrew calendar. And all sevens are important. It is completion. It's the number of completion. It's the number of fullness. So this is all the months are important, but they all have different things, right? So it's the month of fall feasts. It's the month of returning to God and experiencing his glory. The month to touch. It makes me think about in Matthew 9 when the woman knew her faith was so strong that she knew all she had to do was touch Jesus's cloak in order to be healed. So it's that kind of understanding of faith and understanding the power. We talk a lot about the power of our own belief, and the woman's faith is what healed her. It wasn't his cloak, it was her faith. And it was her belief beyond a shadow of a doubt. All I've got to do is get to him and just touch his cloak. Very, very powerful point in scripture. Amazing. It is the month that is linked with awakening and removing that which would keep you from returning. So I'm happy to see people jumping on. Hello, I'm in StreamYard, so I can't see many names, but thank you for being here. I'll see it afterwards when I get to go on Facebook, but so, okay, the month is linked with awakening. So amazing. So the constellation that this month is linked to is Libra, the scales, where the deeds of man are weighed and judgment is released. And it's so amazing how we grow up to always hear that as bad, right? When we always think about, time will expose, or all these things. And it's also linked to getting justice, getting promoted, getting being able to be elevated because of the work, the healing, the processing that you've done, and the powerful way that you've shown up. And there is going to be judgment in a great way for that, as well as there's going to be people that are doing things that are going to be judged that's not in a good way, right? So the color and the stone connected is black onyx or agate. That's the stone that's connected to this month. So okay, so this is amazing. The month of Tishrei begins the autumn or the fall season. The 3 autumn months we're going to be moving into are Tishrei, Cheshvan, and Kislev. And those respond to these 3 tribes. Every month also responds to a tribe. 12 months, 12 tribes, right? So the month of Tishrei responds and connects to the month of Ephraim. And then the month of Cheshvan responds to Manasseh. I always think I say that wrong. And then Kislev is Benjamin. So that's really powerful. If you want to dig in a little bit and research in the tribe of Ephraim, there's a lot there. In all of the tribes, they all had a job and a position. So these 3 tribes were actually situated to the west of the tabernacle. All the tribes were around the tabernacle when they moved it, and each tribe had a very specific place. These 3 were situated to the west. The Bible, Tishrei is the month of the strong, or the month of the ancients. It makes me think about when we read in Hebrews 11 that we get to be connected to this incredible cloud of witnesses, all of the people that went before us with great faith. And Hebrews 11 is one of those power passages that when you read that chapter, it's just always filled with so much power and incredible faith to align ourselves with. It's the month to reconcile the years. Tishrei is the first month of the year. And in the reckoning of the months, it's about completion and perfection. So this is a time of completion. It's also a time that we're moving into a whole new 7-year cycle, because this last year we were in was a Shemitah year, a year of resting. And now we're moving back into a new cycle of moving forward, and being in alignment means that you're going to be putting aside things every year to have a 7th year of rest. So that's really interesting, a whole new teaching that I've never known about until I started following this. Okay, so the 7th month of Nisan is the month of Jewish redemption and independence. Tishrei, more than any other month of the year, is a month of God's appointed times. We know that there's 3 big holidays this month. He wants us to recognize his redemptive plan for each month. So this is not fortune telling. This is not like reading your horoscope. It's nothing like that. The heavens declare the redemptive plan of God, and we're walking this out on the earth realm. We're walking that out. The word of God is on a circuit, and it circles the earth like the sun, right? The word of God is on a circuit. Psalm 19:6 talks about this. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the word circles the earth, until we begin to pull the word down and see how it manifests in our midst. So it is the month of all feasts, and it's about returning to God and experiencing his glory, taking that time to celebrate God, his new year, what that means to him. I talked last week a little bit about this idea of hidden time. We are moving into the month of 5783, but we know that we're about 4 months away until we actually celebrate the ushering in of the year 2023, where we're going to be moving in on the Gregorian calendar. So what I love about this time is this time of fall is about seeing what is going to be. There's abundance. There's that everything that transpires. Here's Daisy with me. In the month of fall, the harvest of everything that you've been learning and growing in this past year. And we get to I don't know. I think God really uses this time for us to prepare to step fully into the next year. And that's really cool. And I'm excited to kind of share some things with you guys about that as we move into the fall, which is going to be really great. So Tishrei is associated with the constellation Libra, which pictures the deeds of man weighed and judgment released. So this is a month to consecrate. I guess on that, you want to be really making sure that your heart is clear, that what has been in there, you want to bring it before God. You want to work through anything that is that you're holding resentment onto. And how do you do that? There's all kinds of ways to do that, right? There's prayer, there's doing deliverance work. I believe fully that doing grief recovery is foundational to everything because it gives you a way to process, to connect to your emotional truth, to get open with that, bringing it into the light. The power that comes when we speak these things, when we speak our emotional truth in a place that's safe, where we're heard. It's incredible. So this is the month you want to do that. If you've done some grief recovery work, maybe it's time to do some alumni, to do some more, to work on another relationship, dig deeper. You can use those tools in many ways. And if you have any questions about that, please reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you about that and to we could brainstorm and see what you could do. So the month of Tishri is the month of Ephraim, the second son of Joseph. Ephraim went before the firstborn, sort of like Jacob and Esau. And the more that I studied that out, the more I realized how often that happened. Interesting, right? So it's the seventh month. It's also the month of the head of the year, Rosh Hashanahs. All sevens are dear to the Lord and dedicated to the Lord. And so this month is the dearest month. When we get to this time of the year, we've already come through two feast cycles and are ready to enter into another. We have the spring feasts and the fall feasts now. He's declared a time for us to feast at the head of the year, which provides revelation for the year ahead. So we had an amazing feast last night. Oh my gosh, did we ever? And it's so incredible to see God's heart is that's what he's pulling us into. He wants to spend that time. He wants there to be feasts and festivals and celebration and to really think about. And I encourage you to take some time today in your journal or in your prayers or anywhere talking to someone about what you're declaring as you move forward into this year, what you're declaring. What revelation is God giving you? Is he giving you a word? We in our coaching in January and in our group, we're going to talk about that. Having a word for the year. Is there a word? Start thinking about that. What word is God impressing on you to focus on? And that he's going to, I love it because he tends to bring forth more clarity and more insight to our word as we do that. It's divine providence creates a new beginning. And God's going to expose. He's going to give you a releasing revelation. So really taking the time, but you'll miss it if you don't take the time to connect with God. And that's really what Sabbath is about, right? It's about slowing down and resting, spending time with family, spending time in prayer and listening. And God will speak. He really will. It's the month of reflected light. This is the light of the moon. It's interesting because in April, there's also a similar thread to that month, which is reflective light of the sun. This month is reflective light of the moon, which changes our environment, the way we process time, the way crops grow, all of those things. This is the month to return to the head of the year, where you ask God, how are you to get to the place where you're flowing in what he is doing? So what's the revelation, God? How are we going to move through? How are we going to flow? We want to be going with him and the current, not against it, right? That's about being in alignment. It's that feeling. And asking God, am I in alignment with you? Show me. And it's amazing how he does that when we're quiet and still and we can hear him. So how is he doing that? How is he doing that? So to flow in spiritual, like kind of providence from heaven, spiritual direction from heaven is really staying in that connection. And we do that by following these rhythms, by following that. You cannot walk alone when we're connected like that. You're never alone, but you know there are times when you feel alone and times when you feel really connected. So that's really, really powerful. Tishrei is associated with the letter Lamed, which we talked about, which signifies the aspiration to return to your absolute source. So during this month, I love this, is a month to decree that things have been scattered will return to you. And I love this, and I really want to receive this here, is feeling this is a month for me, and I'm going to put this out there. It's a month I'm going to begin working on my book. I know that I have to make a schedule, right? You have to make the time. You have to be very intentional. That is not just going to happen. And I go into that a lot of times feeling like I have things scattered everywhere. I have notes in folders and notebooks over the years and all of these things that I want to pull in, and it feels very overwhelming. And I love that the decree this month is to believe and decree that everything's scattered. So everything that's supposed to be in this, God is going to give me access to, remind me where it is, be able to pull all of it in. And that might seem, it's funny. I didn't even think of that before I was going to do this morning, but I love that when I think about something scattered, that's the first thing that I think about. So I'm excited to begin to do this process. So yes. So we talked about Matthew 9 and the faith of the woman who touched Jesus's cloak. She pressed through the crowd. So this is the month to press through. Is there anything that you have been believing that is stopping you from pressing through? And when I say that, I mean believing about yourself. This month, in the fall, we're going to be doing a lot of work that I love to talk about, parts integration, where we're going to be looking at parts of ourselves and integrating it. We're going to do some self-parenting work. That's what we're going to be talking about in the next week or so. And we're adding into that an element of parts integration. And if you've ever done any work, NLP work or anything like that, it's a very, very powerful process of really bringing, if you ever feel like you're your own worst enemy, or you don't understand why there's things that you do that self-sabotage, those are deep roots. And I believe that God brings them to the surface to heal. And we can go down and really do some powerful work where we're working together, where we're reconciling, integrating. And this is going to be really, really cool. So this is how we want to press through to feel the presence of God. And I love this, the way that I'm reading from Chuck Pierce's book of Time to Advance. And I love how he says this: you can touch him in such a way that he releases virtue into you. And I think about that, like when we're in alignment, when we're doing things to self-sabotage, we're not in integrity to ourselves. Right. So I love that we're going to, we can touch him in a way that releases virtue into you. One of these things that I think about is Jacob wrestling with God. He went his whole life. He took the birthright. Remember, he was the second born only by minutes. They were twins, so they were really born together, right? But he was a couple minutes behind his brother Esau. And so he stole the birthright, right? He took it, but the birthright was actually his. It was rightfully his. God told his mom when she was pregnant with them that the second would rule over the first. And so anyway, he stole the birthright, right? He took it, but he spent his whole life struggling with really having that be his identity. And it all really comes to a climax when he wrestles with God until daybreak, and God breaks his hip. Remember, he does that, but he's wrestling to the point where he says, I'm not letting go until you bless me. And he had the blessing, but he didn't realize, he couldn't receive it. Very, very powerful. He pressed in and wrestled. It's unbelievable. One of my favorite stories, his whole character arc, if you would call it that. So this month is linked with arousal and awakening. right? It's about awakening. And so we want to be sure to whatever is coming up, a root of bitterness, a root of resentment, any of those roots, that you bring those up and use whatever tools you have, talk to people to break through. You want to break through those so that you can lean in, that you can press in to touch God in that way. Because bitterness will keep you from pressing in. So, and there's a great point. A lot of people don't process bitterness right. We will numb out. We will do whatever we can, but there's a process of healing and a process of forgiveness in that. So during the month of Passover, you eat bitter herbs to be reminded of the bitterness of the past so you can move through it. So at the head of the year, you want to make sure you're cleansed of that bitterness. So Tishrei is the month of well-balanced control. There's so much going on. The all of the spiritual things are going on in the 7th month. Things are completing and things are beginning. And so there's been a lot of feeling in my life, I don't know about in your life, of deconstructing. And in the deconstruction time, things come to the surface, right? When you pull things out, you pull out, maybe you have to go through an old room. We have a lot of shelves to go through upstairs now that we're not homeschooling anymore. There's a lot of books and stuff, and there's also things that get revealed when you do that. It's kind of the same way when you do emotional work and when you do healing work. Things that are down there will come to the surface. They'll give you clarity, insight. You'll be able to process through them. It's amazing. It's incredible. So I'm very excited for this season. We're entering into fall. We're entering into the harvest time. So enjoy today. Enjoy Tishrei. Enjoy this Sabbath that we're going to put it aside and make it holy. And then God blesses the rest of the month, of the year. This is a big day. There's a lot going on here. It's the beginning of a new month. It's also the beginning of a new year. It's the beginning of a 7-year cycle. Incredible power in this day. So take the time to really surrender. And if God brings some things up, write it down and know that he's bringing it up because it's time to heal. And it's time to move forward without anything that has stopped you in the past, even if it's yourself. Because we create things in order to survive, and then they tend to keep us in that place that we need them, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of powerful breakthrough work that we're going to do over the course of these next couple months. I'm so excited to be doing this life with you. So enjoy your day. Shabbat Shalom, Shana Tova, and just love you so much. See you on Wednesday. Oh, no, I'm sorry. See you on Friday. I'm so used to Wednesday, but we're going to be starting to do the lives on Friday. So we'll talk then. Take care. God bless you guys. Bye.